Hello viewers, welcome to another edition of Business PNG. In contrast to other island countries in the Pacific region, Papua New Guinea is in a reasonably strong macroeconomic position with its financial sector relatively sheltered from the impact of the global credit crunch. In this edition, we hear from the Minister for Treasury, Don Pollier, as he presents the 2013 Mid-Year Economic and Fiscal Outlook Report. But first, let's take a look at the global economic outlook and how it has affected the Papua New Guinea economy.
The world economy is projected to grow by 3.1% this year, the same rate as last year, and down from a forecast of 3.3% 3 months ago. This is according to the International Monetary Fund's 2013 July update of the World Economic Outlook. The projected growth for this year is a result of growth slowing in the emerging market economies due to weaker domestic demand, low investments, and reduced trading activities. The other constraint on the world economy is a protracted contraction in the euro area than previously anticipated. The world economy is now projected to improve slightly and grow by 3.8% in 2014. China's Bureau of Statistics revealed last month that the economic growth of the country slowed down in the second quarter of this year. Statistics by the Bureau showed that China's economic growth slipped in the April to June quarter to 7.5% from 7.7% in the previous quarter. With Papua New Guinea being located in the Asia-Pacific region and a lot of Chinese investment in PNG, fluctuations in China's economy in one way or the other affect PNG's economy. Moreover, activities in the US, the euro area and the Middle East also affect PNG's economy, particularly with regards to mineral exports. This year's Mid-Year Economic and Fiscal Outlook report reveals that the prices of PNG's major mineral exports of gold, copper and oil have traded lower in the first half of the year, and this is largely due to the mixed developments in US economy in the first and second quarters of this year, a slowing Chinese demand, a euro area still in recession, and the geopolitical tensions in the Middle East. In presenting the report at a business breakfast hosted by the Port Moresby Chamber of Commerce and Industry earlier this month, Minister for Treasury Don Pollier stated that the decline in mineral prices has driven an estimated reduction in mineral and petroleum taxes of 239.9 million kina this year.
In addition, taxes on international trade have not performed as well as expected, especially excise duty on imports. But fortunately, growth in other domestic taxes has been strong, especially personal income taxes and goods and services taxes has performed much better. At this stage, the planned sale of assets to the tune of 100 million kina is yet to commence. We might not commence it this year, but I hope that we do sell some of these liabilities to state to make up for some of this downturn in revenue we have seen because of the downturn in the commodity prices. But the overall impact of these changes is an estimated fall in revenue of 72.8 million kina.
PNG's fiscal position for this year is expected to be a deficit of 2,700.8 million kina, which is an increase of 151.7 million kina compared to the initial deficit of 2,549.1 million kina at the time of the 2013 budget.
This is attributable to slightly lower revenue receipts and an expected expenditure overrun in the personal emoluments in provincial governments. However, this does not take into account the possible underspends in some major capital items in the budget.
Stay tuned. We'll have more on the Mid-Year Economic and Fiscal Outlook report when we come back. PNG has a dual economy comprising of a formal and large informal sector, where subsistence farming accounts for the bulk of economic activities. According to the Asian Development Bank, PNG's formal sector provides a narrow employment base, consisting of workers engaged in mineral production, manufacturing, public sector, and service industries. The 2013 budget projected a 4% growth rate, but according to the 2013 mid-year economic and fiscal outlook, the PNG economy is expected to grow by 6.1% this year. In this segment, we look at the performances of various sectors of the economy, with particular focus on agriculture, forestry, fisheries, and the resource sectors.
The booming mining, oil and gas sectors have had dramatic effect on Papua New Guinea's economy, posing a huge challenge on the sustainable resource sectors such as agriculture, fisheries and forestry, which have been part of Papua New Guineans' livelihood well before the country's independence. Small and medium enterprises are also increasing as a result of the booming mineral resource sector. However, there are enormous challenges that go with this, including the high cost of developing infrastructure and rugged terrain. These are part of the challenge that the O'Neill Dion government faces in making decisions on the country's economy. In presenting the mid-year economic and fiscal outlook report, Minister Pollier said in comparison to the rather somber international scene, the PNG economy remains strong and businesses continue to draw confidence from the stable domestic political landscape, the government's fiscal stimulus, and the continuing construction phase of the PNG LNG project.
In 2013, the economy is expected to grow at 6.1%, an upward revision from the 4% projected at the 2013 budget.
The Treasurer reported on various sectors of the economy, stating their projected growth and factors affecting their status. We take a closer look at the projections on the agriculture, forestry, fisheries sector, the mining and quarrying sector, and the oil and gas sector. The agriculture, forestry, fisheries sector is projected to grow at 2.7%, just under 2013 budget projection of 2.8%. This growth reflects lower prices, unfavorable weather conditions, and infrastructure-related problems. The mining and quarrying sector growth has been revised up to 20% from this year's budget forecast of 17.8%. This upward revision is due to an improvement in production expected from one of the key mines. The oil and gas sector is expected to continue its slowdown due to the natural decline of the oil fields. The contraction of the oil sector offsets the strong forecasts from the other sectors this year. Total revenue and grants for this year are estimated at 10,409.1 million kina, which is 72.8 million kina lower than the 2013 budget estimate of 10,481.9 million kina. Total development expenditures was set at 5,899.8 million kina at the time of the budget. Total public debt outstanding is projected to increase to 11,491.6 million kina at the end of this year, compared to the original budget estimate of 11,368.2 million kina.
Up next, we hear from the Treasurer about employment, inflation, and the state's spending priorities. If you've just joined us, you're watching Business PNG. In this episode, we are looking at the 2013 Mid-Year Economic and Fiscal Outlook Report. In this segment, we focus on employment growth, inflation, and funding for government priorities.
The report presented by Minister Pollier, in accordance with the requirements of Sections 9 and 15 of the Papua New Guinea Fiscal Responsibility Act 2006, states that PNG's total employment has remained fairly strong in line with developments in the domestic economy. Strong economic growth translates to total strong employment growth. Minister Pollier highlighted on the challenge of gathering statistics relating to employment.
I wish I could be specific on these figures and statistics. I do talk about actual numbers created, but I can't. These types of economic statistics are not collected in Papua New Guinea, and this makes my job or any other minister, even the Prime Minister's job, much difficult because of the lack of such data available. And those who are responsible, I like to ask that we have to do better in that area. But I'll use the Bank of Papua New Guinea's index, which at least gives some information about employment trends in the country. And in this area, there's very good news for the non-mining sector. Based on through the year growth figures, non-mining sector employment grew strongly by 7.4% through to the end of March quarter 2013. The strong non-mining sector employment is driven primarily by the strong growth in the retail, which has gone up by 19%, building and construction was gone up by 14.5%, manufacturing up by 10.5%, and wholesale sectors up by 8.1%.
At budget time, Treasury projected inflation this year to be around 8%, reflective of the government's stimulus spending. This has been revised down to 5.6%, taking into account the low 2012 inflation outcome of 2.2%, weak global economic activities, falling commodity prices, low and stable inflation in major trading partner countries, and the lagged impact of the appreciation of the Kina exchange rate.
However, if the recent pattern of Kina's depreciation continues and foreign reserves continue to be reduced, we will need to be very careful that inflationary pressures do not re-emerge in the economy.
Minister Pollier said during the breakfast that the government remains fully committed to its determined program to ensuring the better delivery of services to the people of PNG. Full funding has been provided for government priorities such as tuition fee-free education, outstanding MOA commitments, key infrastructure such as roads and facilities for the 2015 Pacific Games, and the new 1.5 billion Kina annual direct investments in provinces, districts, and local level governments. There are many reforms that the government is implementing to improve the business operating environment. These include the establishment of the electricity industry policy, the Public-Private Partnerships Bill, which is before the Cabinet for consideration and endorsement, the Personal Property Security Act, which helps small businesses by providing secured lending, and working to improve the performance and governance arrangements for state-owned enterprises.
In an international survey by the World Bank, Papua New Guinea was ranked 104 out of 185 countries in terms of the cost of doing business. Now, I'm not ashamed of that because that's real, it's a fact. Let's accept it. It's a fact that we ranked that low. Now, the question is, why are we being ranked that low? I don't think they're lying about us. They've done that kind of a comparison. Okay, let's wake up and say, well, we ranked that low because of these barriers there, these impediments. Let's improve them, like a people who is aggressive to develop, and let's improve them. And that's what the O'Neill Dion government is doing. We like to take up the challenge, how do we improve? Of course, we are not perfect, but let's do our best. And I say, this is not good enough, and we must work together to reduce this cost and make a more dynamic private sector.
The Treasurer emphasized that PNG has a bright future ahead. He said that PNG has plentiful natural resources, a strong private sector, committed donor partners, and said that he is committed to see a transparent and efficient public sector too.
Our commitment to education holds the key to our future. The next step is to grow our tertiary education capacity as well as skills and trade training. Mr. President, the government remains optimistic that the economic future of this country can be secured and our development priorities met. And this government recognizes it must be done in partnership with our business sector.
The minister said 2014 will be a budget of prudent consolidation. He said PNG readily acknowledges the challenges it faces as a developing country.
We must chart a carefully considered and prudent course that maximizes our opportunities and actually delivers real solutions for our nation. It is a course that is entwined with the growth of private enterprise. Ladies and gentlemen, I look forward to your support, your considered input in the development of Papua New Guinea into a regional powerhouse for our economic future, for our children's future.
Stay tuned. When we come back, an interview with Treasurer Don Pollier. Welcome back. Before we leave, Minister Pollier elaborates further on the 2013 Mid-Year Economic and Fiscal Outlook Report. Here's David Kahn with the interview.
Welcome to Business PNG, and with me in the studio, the special guest, Treasurer Don Pollier. Treasurer, welcome, and thank you for your presentation to the Port Moresby Chamber this morning. Generally, presenting obviously the State of the Economy address, the mid-year financial review, generally outlook optimistic?
Yes, David, thank you for your invitation here and allowing us to give a review of the mid-year fiscal economic outlook of Papua New Guinea. Yeah, generally the international economy has got some challenges there and it's slowed down in its growth. Yeah. But Papua New Guinea, we see a very positive outlook in the medium term.
So, I mean, there is general slowdown in the international economy, but I mean, and you projected 4% in the budget. Now you're saying 6.1. What do you attribute that to?
PNG 6.1% GDP growth, upward revision has come about due to first a continued construction phase in the LNG project. When we did the budget for this year, we saw a reduced in the activities, a decline in the activities, but now we've seen prolonged construction activities taking place in the LNG project. That's one factor. Yes. The other is, you will know, David, that the government put a lot of money in the sharp national levels, yes, up to 1.9 billion kina. Yeah. Yes, yes. So we have given out, we've given out a stimulus package in that form to making sure there's a lot of activities on the ground. So, and also, thirdly, it's been a lot of activities in the private sector. So all those three activities and combined, we've seen that improvement in the economic growth.
We're hearing, everything we're hearing, it tells us that LNG construction's on schedule and first gas in 2014. Do you think there's going to be an impact when that construction finally, you're looking for a big impact when that construction finally comes to an end?
I really don't see a big negative impact on the economy because the non-mining sector, the non-petroleum sector is also growing, like you've heard me say. Yes. And there's been an increase in the personal income and GST. What that indicates to me is that there is strong performance in the business sector. Yes. The other thing too is some of these projects that we have already earmarked for implementation this year, as well as for the next 4 or 5 years. We see those programs are still being implemented. So you'll see construction work and yes, rehabilitation work ongoing.
Is that indicative of perhaps a more balanced economy growing?
Yeah.
You know, before we talked mining and petroleum, and you know, we've heard Prime Minister and yourself talking about how we need to broaden the base of the economy.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, you're correct. We're seeing, it's a good news that we see the economy is balanced in its growth process. We like to see the manufacture, transportation, retail industry, storage. We like to see, and more importantly, agriculture and tourism. Those sectors grow, and we like to build a small, medium-scale enterprises, a middle-income sector industry in Papua New Guinea. So when it's women and children, youth, and every Papua New Guinean participating, you'll see the growth broadens and it sustains the economy. So we like to create a resilient economy from a broad-based perspective.
That's what we need to aim for,
That's right.
agriculture, SME sector. Yeah, you mentioned a large proportion of your budget, I think 1.9 billion going out to provinces, to LNG. There's been, I guess there's a lot of concern about the capacity out there, and it was clearly an attempt to inject money into those sectors as the anticipation of the economy slowing down. Is that a concern you share about how that money is going to be spent out there?
Yeah, David, I think it's a very frank observation that you're highlighting here. Yes, there has been some capacity constraints at the district level, but not all throughout Papua New Guinea. We do find there's some capacity there. Now, what we have done is we spend the money direct to the districts. We are building the capacity at the district level. So those the public servants and the expert level of people you find at the provincial and the national level, the government has taken an approach to making them concentrate at the district level, because we are putting the money direct to the districts. And even through the departments, we like to see efficiency there. And what we have done is we have now talked to some of our development partners to get public servants and officers who can be able to help us in those areas to support implement a government
budget. And in reality, I mean, if life is better out there in the provinces, we're going to get the people who go there. They still need a school to go to, they need health, they need transportation. So, Treasurer, moving on to, you've raised the issue of inflation, and again, you know, from a business perspective, this is something that always causes us, you know, to be quite honest, a little bit of confusion. I mean, you're projecting 8%. If I were to talk to most of my businesses, say, oh, that's how do you? Well, number one, how do you know? And this idea of the CPI basket. When are we going to get that fixed? I mean, it's. I mean, we're a bit fed up being at the whim of the price of betel nut, to be quite honest.
I see those. Those are general concerns, David. What I've instructed Treasury to do is to work with the PNG, National Statistics Office, and our other, the ICCC, and our other, and also the private sector as well, to making sure that we come up with a more reformed and realistic a formula that must be put in place to measure the CPI. But for the time being, I still have confidence in the CPI, and I take note of the point that there's some very important elements are not captured in the climate assessments.
I mean, like rent and fuel.
And all that.
I mean, these are the things that really impact on people. I mean, and you know, okay, we accept that education fees now. That's something that comes out of someone's concern, but the hope then is that that money is then spent sensibly.
Very true. So there's already working underway to review the formula, the process by which we come up with the CPI figures, and I hope that should be ready by the end of this year.
We'll look forward to that. I think it's been 25 years for that CPI basket, so it's a very holy basket.
Yeah, I agree.
Treasurer, final question, 2014 budget. I jokingly said I think all treasurers say this in advance to warn people, but you said, you know, use the terms prudent and tough. What can we ask what we can expect in a 2014 budget?
Well, there are two things that I want to achieve. First is that I like to stay within management levels of debt for Papua New Guinea. I want to continue to build debt that we cannot be able to pay off or get rid of it in the medium term. We must stay below, and that is about 35% of the GDP. We like to maintain below that, and we have done that so far, which I think is a good thing. Second is that where we are spending money, we have to assess first. In this year's budget implementation, have we achieved that growth that we intended to grow in those enablers, in those priority areas that we have spent so much funds? If we have not, then we have to reassess the reason as to why we haven't achieved that much, and we have to improve it. So it's not just pouring money out there without addressing the underlying issues as to the lack of implementation on an inefficient system that is implementing without achieving the intended objective. So those are the areas that I'm keeping in mind what I'm talking about. So if we need to look at debt budgeting, we have to look at our current stock of debt. And if we continue to build on that debt, will we be able to sustain it, over time, at the same time achieving macroeconomic stability. That's very, very important for Papua New Guinea. I want to see price stability, I want to see macroeconomic stability. I'd like to see our growth continue to grow consistently.
And that winds up this edition of Business PNG. To access our programs online, log on to www.mtv.com.pg. Also, remember to send us your feedback via Facebook or email. I'm Leanne Jarari. See you next Tuesday.